Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Dave.
And join us every Thursday for a new episode of Two Player Bros, a podcast about two guys who play way too many video games. Join me and Dave as we talk about the latest in Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and VR news, previews, and reviews. We have it all, and we play it all.
And join us every other week for Post Game, where we play through and dive deep into our favorite modern classics and new releases.
That's Two Player Bros, available every Thursday wherever you get your podcast, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Do you like beer?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like beer podcasts?
Then check out Crackin' One Open, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every week, we crack open a new craft beer from breweries around the country.
And sometimes the world.
We'll talk about how it was made, what's in it, the history of the brew, and the brewery.
Then we'll give our tasting notes, and while we're finishing up, we'll talk about some of the latest goings-on in the world of pop culture.
So check out Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian runes. Naturan de Manto, roughly translated, Book of the Dead. The book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood. Tatir mano mansizon hazan sobar. Samanda rosa, darhis hiker dan de rosa, Kanda.
Shut it off.
Kanda.
Shut it off.
Kanda.
Shut it off!
That's Wally soul. Fine, you want to turn it into that? You want to turn that into this kind of podcast? Let's go. What'd you love about it, Butler? Because I'm going to kill it. We're supposed to assume that you know that she's going to have bloodlust, and you're shocked and angry when she bites you when you have an open wound right in front of her?
Like, make it, dog, make it, dog. Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
You son of a...
I'll do it right.
Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Horror Podcast. Scared yet? You will be. Each episode, we highlight a horror movie that for a variety of reasons was forgotten by audiences. It could be because a scarier, creepier movie was released at the same time. Perhaps audiences were accidentally transported into an alternate universe. Or maybe audiences didn't see enough of the movie through their hands over their eyes because they were scared. You see where we're going with that? We'll break down the movie as well as discuss what we like or don't like about the movie, but we'll always suggest that you bring this movie back from the dead for a revisit. If you're not too afraid of our podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are available.
That's Wally soul. That's Wally soul. That's Wally soul.
We're gonna get you.
Hi, everybody. We are doing Evil Dead, not The Evil Dead, or is it Evil Dead 2 or The Evil Dead 2?
I believe it's just Evil Dead
Evil
2.
Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. No, we are doing the Evil Dead remake that came out in 2013. And before we get into the facts, let's give you a quick synopsis as we wrap up Forgotten Horror. Sorry, Mike. It's Mike's favorite time of the year, which is fine. It's awesome. So Mia, a drug addict, is determined to kick the habit. To that end, she asks her brother David, his girlfriend Natalie, and their friends Olivia and Eric to accompany her to their family's remote forest cabin to help through withdrawal. Eric finds a mysterious Book of the Dead at the cabin and reads it aloud because he's an idiot, awakening an ancient demon. All hell breaks loose when the malevolent entity, possesses Mia. That's about on par with it.
That's not bad, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with the Evil Dead franchise, this is not really of that vein in terms of the type of schlocky horror comedy aspect of the original.
Well, the original, The Evil Dead, was pretty much a straight up horror movie. It
was.
didn't have that schlocky. It didn't have the Three Stooges type humor that they added to Evil Dead 2.
Well, I think you get some of that with Bruce Campbell's performance in The Evil Dead, kind of just how he is.
Right.
So they probably just they jumped upon that for the second one, which the second one I know is a sequel, but it's kind of more also
it's like a reboot.
Yeah, but they had money, so they could do it.
Right.
Right.
So you get parts of the first one, and then but now here's him the next day.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. Evil Dead, rated Rated R, definitely. Runtime of 91 minutes. Production budget of $17 million. Came out on April 5th, 2013. Right off the bat. Why are you not putting this out in October?
That's ridiculous.
I mean, maybe in April because you're hoping that the DVD will be out by October.
okay.
But again, you're missing an opportunity here. And I should have looked and see what came out in October in 2013 just to kind of see why maybe they were afraid of that date.
I mean, who cares? You're the Evil Dead.
This is true. This is true. Opening weekend, it did $25 million, domestic 54, and worldwide 97.5. So it's definitely a hit. Production company was TriStar Pictures, Ghost House Pictures, which is basically Sam Raimi, and then Film District. It was distributed domestically by TriStar Pictures, and then Sony Pictures Releasing handled the rest. But to be fair, Sony Pictures Releasing owns TriStar, so it's kind of the same thing. Let's see. So it came out, like I said, April 5th, and it came up against only one big movie, and that was the Jurassic Park re-release. That was the only thing it came up against. So I guess that answers my question. Why did you come out in April? The week before, you had The Host. This is not The Host that was the Korean monster movie host,
which is really good.
Correct. It is actually the sci-fi dystopian YA book, The Host.
I vaguely remember that now. When I first read that, I was like, what?
Yeah. So that came out the week before, as well as Temptation, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, which is a Tyler Perry movie based on a play that he wrote. The week after, so April 12th, you had Scary Movie 5, and then 42, which is about Jackie Robinson, which is a good movie.
I like that.
Yes. And then the week after that, the 19th, only because I like to put in like the closest horror movie, you had The Lords of Salem, which is Rob Zombie. And then you also had the movie Oblivion, which we both love, so I wanted to put that in there. That's the Tom Cruise in space, right? In space, on Earth.
In Oblivion, he's on Earth.
Yeah. Well, a sci-fi is probably what I meant to say.
Well, he does go to space at some point.
Well, he doesn't. Yes, you're right.
And he will be going to space again.
But he'll be in space.
That's right.
Correct. Directed by Fede Alvarez. He's also directed Don't Breathe, which came out after this.
Which is also very good.
I've never seen that. No, I never
That's
saw it.
good.
And he did The Girl in the Spider's Web more recently.
Yeah,
Agreed.
okay.
Your look on your face. I agree. Well, why? Like the Fincher, the girl with the dragon tattoo, the Fincher version is awesome.
The Fincher version is amazing, and it's exactly how you picture it in your head when you're reading the book.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense they didn't do Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara.
Well, that's the thing.
Continue.
This is not The Girl in the Spider's Web is not based on any of the books, right? It's just its own story.
It takes place after the books, which also doesn't make sense because the way the movie plays, you kind of have to
see the other one,
see what happened at least in the first.
Yeah.
Not even Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It has so much to do with her family, which is the second two books that you're left
correct.
going.
That's why the Spiderwebs. I think they just made up their own. I don't think it has anything to do with anything that the original writer wrote.
They did, and I don't even think it has to do with the sequel books that
because the sister character is made up.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, so you wanted to do your own thing with those characters, fine, but it's always going to be compared to the Dragon Tattoo one, which for Fincher, which is awesome. Even the original is good.
Right, the Swedish ones,
yeah. So moving on, Fede Alvarez also wrote this movie along with I'm going to get this name wrong, Soto Sayagues. I apologize. They also wrote Don't Breathe together.
I think Roto. Yeah, I think you're right. You said it like stuttering, but I think that was right.
I wish I can get every single name right that we do throughout the episodes, but the apology is put in there if I got your name wrong. It's completely fine. This is obviously, we've already talked about it. It's based on the original movie that Sam Raimi did. If you don't know who Sam Raimi is, he did the Spider-Man trilogy, the one with Tobey Maguire, and then he also did Drag Me to Hell, among other things. Cinematography by Aaron Morton. He's known for the Orphan Black TV show, which you have still not yet seen, Mr. Butler.
I have not yet seen
the movie Boogeyman and the movie 30 Days of Night, which is actually not bad. Let's see what else. Composed by, I'm going to get this name wrong, Roque Banos. Excuse me. I apologize again. He did the Old Boy remake in 2013. He also did In the Heart of the Sea and The Miracle Season more recently. Produced by a bunch of people, but some of the Bruce Campbell's a big producer in this. Guillermo Carbonell and Alejandro Damiani. Campbell has produced all the Evil Dead series. He did he was on the Burn Notice TV show. He played Sam Axe in that, and he's also in Bubba Hotep. If you don't know that, Carbonell has done a short called The Plague, and he did a couple shorts or a couple segments more recently of a thing called the Pandemic Anthology, which they kind of did while they were in quarantine. I don't know if you're aware of the pandemic that's been happening. Yes,
no,
correct.
I have
Yeah,
no idea.
don't worry about it. And Damiani has done a movie called Asylum, Twisted Horror and Fantasy Tales. I wonder what that's about. Then edited by Brian Shaw, who has done a lot of the edit for the TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead, which we both love, and Born Racer.
R.I.P.
They might listen. They should do another one, but they have to convince Bruce Campbell of that.
I don't.
So the cast is relatively unknown, and that's probably why it's a $17 million budget. And I don't say unknown in a derogatory sense. It's just people that are, actors up on the up. You had Jane Levy as Mia. She plays Jackie Torrance in the Castle Rock TV show. I don't know if you've seen that yet. She's also more recently on the Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist TV show, and she's in Fun Size, and she's also in Don't Breathe. I think what she's more known for is Don't Breathe. I think that kind of
And Suburbatory.
Suburgatory, yeah. That was a TV show. Yeah. Yep. Shiloh Fernandez plays David. That is Mia's brother. He was in Red Riding Hood, and he's in the East, and a movie called Syrup. Lou Taylor Pucci.
Mhm.
Is that right, you think?
So I would say.
Apologies. He plays Eric. He's in AXL or Axel, American Horror Story TV show season 9. Which one's that? Is that the one that just came out where they're at the summer camp? Okay, excellent. And he's also in a movie called Ava's Possessions. And the reason why I bring that up is because my buddy Adrian Correa shot Ava's Possessions. He was actually the cinematography on that. So
cool.
Check it out. I didn't even ask him if he kind of talked to Lou or Mr. Pucci. I should have asked him how he say his last name. That would have been good. Darn it. Jessica Lucas as Olivia. She was in Pompeii, Cloverfield, The Covenant, and she's actually on the TV show Gotham. Elizabeth Blackmore as Natalie. She is David's girlfriend in this. She's in Vampire Diaries TV show and Legend of the Seeker TV show. And then finally, Jim McLarty, who's the father in the beginning, Harold. He was in the 2005 King Kong, Lovely Bones, one of Mike's favorites, and then 2016 Pete's Dragon. But that's it. Small cast.
You forgot about Inca, who played Grandpa the dog.
That's it. Small cast. As soon as you saw the dog, it's like that dog's dying. As soon as you saw it.
That's one of my notes in the whole thing. Like the first note when the dog appears, it's like it's the laziest form of filmmaking and writing is adding a dog just so it could die. And it's like, why? Oh, just so you can have an emotional moment for no reason.
Well, my note, I have the note is, well, there's 2 reasons why the dog dies. And I'm okay with killing the dog just because you need to show the hole that leads to the shed.
Right.
Because Mia has to go through the hole. So, okay. But to your point, yeah. As soon as you see an animal, a domestic animal in a horror movie, the dog, it's dying.
Right.
So don't be surprised when it's cut or something happens. It's dying.
Horror movie or an action movie?
Well, not an Independence Day 4, which is so terrible when they save that. Do you remember ID4 when?
Oh, Independence. You said Independence Day 4. I was like,
what? Oh, sorry. Excuse me. ID4.
Oh, you mean when the dog jumps the fireball? At the
that
end?
is so lame.
I fucking love that.
That's
dog
lame.
The fireball.
That is lame.
You're like, make it, dog. Make it, dog.
That's lame.
Would you rather have the dog engulfed by fire?
I'd rather have believability.
That's not what Independence Day is about.
All right. So off the top, before we get into the movie, I'm going to say this. I prefer my Evil Dead, Schlocky, and I prefer Army of Darkness, Ash vs. Evil Dead. I prefer that type of Evil Dead. To me, that's synonymous. I'm not, just a heads up. To me, that's synonymous with the Evil Dead franchise.
Sure.
So I'm trying not to view this movie through that lens. I'm trying to view it as it's on its own.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
Okay. I don't know how you feel.
So Evil Dead started as the goriest, grossest, most terrifying The Evil Dead. The original Sam Raimi 1982 film was terrifying to audiences when it came out.
Yes, agreed.
It was super violent, super gory, banned all over the place. That was what Evil Dead was when it began. And it became had comedy moments and had that horror in Evil Dead 2. And then it went to Army of Darkness and it became very shticky. And I love Army of Darkness. But to me, I do prefer my Evil Dead 2, I think, with that perfect mix of comedy and horror.
Well, that's what Drag Me to Hell is.
Yeah, I don't like Drag Me to Hell.
Really?
Right. It
has
moments that are amazing.
Saying. That's what I'm saying.
It's more the story of Drag Me to Hell. Okay. But I do love that Sam Raimi has added some of that back. That horror that it's not trying to be a scary movie type, like the Wayans Brothers scary movies, like a comedy, a spoof. But it has comedy in there, that levity. And it still has really scary scenes, really creepy creatures. But the original Evil Dead is also amazing. And I love that. And when I was starting to be like, all right, I want to be an actor. I want to be a filmmaker. And, you read about how different people make it. and the way like Sam Raimi and so many people make it by doing these low budget horror movies. And he's like the ultimate low budget horror movie maker that really made something amazing. That's one of the reasons I really caught on to the Evil Dead franchise was latching onto, okay, what did he do in this with no budget that maybe I could kind of replicate in some way, of like the chutzpah or the drive that made them do this movie with no budget and so much blood and the actors and cold nights, and just it was awful experience to make the movie and they made something amazing.
Yeah.
That's what Evil Dead is to me, and it's that commitment to the practical effects and not cheaping out and scaring your audience and really kind of going over the top. And that's what I really love about Evil Dead, and the fact that anything can happen in Evil Dead. It's not a slasher movie. It's not necessarily a monster movie either.
There are rules, but the rules are broken. They're not. You don't
Right.
don't pay attention to like, well, wait a minute, how could she slice her tongue in half, but she's still okay? Like that kind of stuff. Like, yeah,
Because it's just pure.
Right.
It's just whatever.
Yes, agreed. Well, to your point, when they first started this movie, Fede Alvarez said he wanted to do all practical, because to honor the original. But what it makes me laugh because most of his other movies are CGI centric, and he doesn't like CGI.
That's how he got the job.
Yeah,
was doing a
I
CGI
know. But he didn't want to do that for this movie because he wanted to honor the originality of the first one or the other ones, and that's great. But there are CGI moments in this.
There are,
and there's no other way to do these moments without that CGI. So,
but the CGI moments don't happen often.
True,
or at least not that you see. There are two glaring moments that you and I were talking about before the podcast.
Well, go ahead.
So the opening scene is obviously
when she's burned.
Yeah. So
Yep.
you declare it's no CG, it's all real, and our first horror shot is all CG.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is still a cool shot, and it's a very tense opening.
Yeah.
But that's CG, and then there's another scene where David's girlfriend's second hand gets blown off,
Right.
and that is she's holding it up, and like you said, there's no other way to do that because it's a bare arm being held up.
Right.
It's CG as blood splurting, and you don't have the top of your hand. You're showing the whole thing. There's no way to hide it.
Yeah. Yeah. But even when she's walking towards David, and she's just like, obviously she has that. She's obviously wearing the sleeves because she's not tucking her arms behind her back, which, that's fine. I get that. That just don't think we don't understand that.
Well, the one thing I don't get is the other arm wasn't CG, but the new arm is CG.
Yeah.
And the new arm, it's just, it's more that that CG shot isn't very well done.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that everything else was pretty much practical really points out when the CG moments are just like,
yeah,
come on.
But that's fine. CG should be there to enhance and help the movie. You should do as much practical as you can. I can forgive CG if it's not the only thing. I can forgive the effects if that's like in action movies now, when they have huge gunfights and like all the blood splatters all digital. I mean, for a low budget film, okay, fine. You do what you can. I get that because there's low budget filmmakers have such a plethora of resources now and tools that they can use with Adobe Premiere Pro and all the Adobe Creative Cloud. We're not doing an ad. I'm just saying. There's so many things that they can do now. And I get why you would do that when you do like a independent. If I see a movie that was made for $2 million and you can see all the digital effects, I'm fine with that because they're using what they can. Not a big budget movie, just
You're not using a squib.
Yeah, you can't use squibs at some point. I mean, there's just such a more visceral reaction with squibs than anything, if they're done well. All right, let's get off that topic. Here's the first thing I'm going to tell you. I walk into a room with 30 dead cats hanging off the room. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm not staying at the cabin.
It's their family cabin. They're going to have to clean it up at some point anyway.
Which I didn't understand because I want you to, because I'm unfamiliar with the timeline. Because this is supposed to be within the timeline of Ash.
Listen,
Explain it to
they're
me.
all over the place with that. According to, because I own the Blu-ray. Well, I should probably say that I'm an Evil Dead super fan. I love Evil Dead.
Why do you think I'm asking you this question?
I get that. I just want to put that out there. So like when I'm talking about Evil Dead and I'm gushing over this movie or the other Evil Dead movies or why I put this on the list is that I really I like horror films, but I love Evil Dead. And that's pretty much what got me into liking horror films. Bruce Campbell says that you could almost imagine this taking place in an alternate universe. Like the book goes from universe to universe, parallel universes.
Okay.
So It's not necessarily the same cabin, but it's the same cabin in a different Earth, essentially.
So then his car is in that alternate reality?
But like Fede says that it could be a sequel. Like the other Evil Dead could have happened, and then now this Evil Dead happened, and they just found the book again.
Yeah.
So, and other people say no, it's just a complete, like Rob Tappert, who was a producer on this film, who was
He's Sam Raimi's producer partner. Yeah.
He says that this is a complete reboot, a complete reimagining.
Okay.
So in that case,
the Ash stuff doesn't.
The Ash stuff doesn't exist, and this cabin is all new. So it depends on who you're talking to. I think Fede Alvarez is such a fan of Evil Dead, he wants this to be a sequel. Rob Tappert doesn't want this to be a sequel because he worked on the original. He's got so much respect for the original. It doesn't have Ash in it. He'd prefer it to be a whole new movie, a whole new universe.
Right.
Then you got Bruce Campbell, who wants to promote the film, but also wants nothing to do with the film because he didn't want at that time. If no one could play, he could play Ash.
Which I agree. I think that's a role that nobody else should ever play.
Right, and that's why I'm okay with this not having the comedy, because if you don't have Ash, almost all your comedy comes from Ash.
No.
And so you can't really. When they were first thinking about making a sequel, they were thinking about bringing in different people.
Did you read who they were going to bring in?
Marlon
Wayans and Ashton Kutcher.
But I had also read Sean William Scott was also under consideration.
There's no other person that you shouldn't even take that role. I mean, like that's if I'm not an actor and I'm not trying to make my bones in acting, but if I mean, there's got to be some roles that are so iconic that you don't want to step on.
Yeah, it'd be rough.
Yeah.
Although I think Sean William Scott would have done an okay job.
But he was, but he's not Bruce Campbell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the amount of crap Bruce Campbell put himself through.
Yeah.
It'd be tough to get an actor who's willing to do so much self-harm to themselves for a role.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an actor that will commit to the bit 100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want that same style, then just make him his cousin or his nephew or his whatever, or his niece, like don't make him Ash. Ash is always going to be Bruce Campbell from now until eternity. And whoever you put in there will never be as good as him as Ash. That's just, I'm sorry, but that's the thing. No one will be ever as good as Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. It's just how it is.
Yep. Absolutely.
So anyways, back to the timelines. So it's alternate realities. Okay.
Alternate realities, or far in the sequel, like someone just found the cabin in the woods and bought the cabin.
Right.
Or it's just a whole new thing.
Right. Okay. Just about the cabin, two things. One, that's the biggest cellar I've ever seen in a cabin in my entire life.
I don't know much about cabins.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the cellar. The cellar is pretty much spot on the original.
Right. But
the whole cabin looks great. The whole cabin is mostly spot on with the original. But the bathroom.
Hold on. Go ahead.
The bathroom's fucking huge.
Well, here's the thing. It's not. Well, there's a scene where, and maybe I didn't get it right. When Eric is first looking at the book, he's already read the passage.
Yep.
And Olivia, I guess they're boyfriend and girlfriend, I guess. I would
imagine, or at least he really likes her.
She's in the room and she tells him, you should come downstairs with us. She says that, right? She tells him to come downstairs.
She says, come downstairs. I don't remember.
She does, because there's no second floor to the cabin.
There's not.
So she says that and I go, whoa, what? So they have expanded. Maybe it's a Doctor Who thing and they've expanded the box. It's bigger on the inside than the outside, but there is no second floor. But they have said that there's a second floor in the movie.
I think that was probably just a script mistake. They probably just like come to the living room or something, and they just wrote come downstairs.
And their bathroom is attached to their bedroom. That bathroom that she dies in,
which I think is the only bathroom, which is weird.
There's a little bit some inconsistencies with inside the house, and clearly you don't really care, obviously.
Right.
So so that was one thing. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. If I see a book that has warnings and evil shit in the book, I close it. The second thing, I don't continue to read out loud.
You don't take stencil.
What a moron! I mean, I'm doing the guy who watches the horror movie in the theater.
Yeah.
What an idiot!
Don't do it. No, don't do the thick car.
And when he comes down and he's like, "I released something evil." Really? We hadn't noticed.
They don't notice. They don't notice until like way late.
When everything happens, and when his girlfriend. Why go back in the house? Why go down the cellar? You clearly have seen some bad shit happening. why go in there? Stuff like that. But it's a horror movie.
So you gotta do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where we can go from here.
So, well, let me start with asking you the question,
Ooh,
because obviously I like this movie a lot. What do you think of this movie? Your overall then?
It moves quick, which I appreciate.
It's actually the longest Evil Dead movie in the entire franchise,
which is pretty good. I don't really. maybe because they're not well-known actors and actresses when they made this,
Mhm.
and they're really not. They're in some smaller things now, but you wouldn't know them unless you watch some of the TV shows. I think that helps it. It's you don't bringing any kind of baggage from another IP or another franchise in over or another role. It's it's
Right.
relatively new. I liked it. I mean, like I said, it's not the other stuff, so
Mhm.
I don't want to compare it to that Evil Dead. I want to compare it to maybe movies that are in that vein now, horror
Which
movies.
I don't think there are a lot. I think that's another reason I really like this movie.
Well, there's not as this has got a lot of blood and gore, and that's fine.
right.
There's
but
not
at
a
the
lot
same
of
time,
movies
it's
like
not
that.
like a Hostel kind of movie.
No,
It's
not
a
at
blood
all.
and gore without being a Saw.
Yeah, no, because Saw has got that mystery element. This does not have it. So yes, I enjoyed it. I did not like it. It's a good watch. It's like I said, it moves fast. It's interesting. It's fun. There's if you love horror, you love different moments, and there's a lot of stuff that harkens back to the original stuff, like the phrases that they say and stuff like that.
A lot of dialogue.
Yeah. So that's fun. The idea that she cuts off her arm with the meat slicer,
Mhm.
which I don't think is going to cut through a bone, but that's fine.
That's one of my notes. I don't
Yeah.
think turkey carvers can get through that thick a bone.
Right. And so, but that's the other thing. Like, so I don't know how long they've been to this apartment, this cabin, because that meat slicer is from the 70s or from the 80s.
I think the parent. I imagine just like the parents. Well, the mother's dead.
Right.
We don't know anything about the father really,
Right.
so we don't know how long it's been since they've been there. But
Nor the other people that were hanging out that were basically taking over their cabin.
well, they're the hillbillies that killed the daughter,
Yeah, I know, but
or the gypsies, or whatever.
yeah, but the father, because I was assuming that they were using the cabin. The father and the daughter were.
Oh no, I just assumed that the daughter had run off, and that was the closest cabin they could use. Maybe they were in another cabin, or in that setting.
Well, that's the other thing. This is your getaway. Like you're in the middle of nowhere. What are you doing out there in your getaway? There's
Just
like
chilling with nature, reading books, playing board games,
getting killed.
getting killed. I mean, they probably go there during the summer and not like the fall or wherever this takes place. So,
Right. I guess I'll ask you if you enjoyed this or you liked this part. That Mia is quote unquote the bad one because she's the one that gets infected.
right.
She gets possessed. She's killing her friends. Then they turn her and David saves her, and then she ends up becoming almost the quote unquote hero at the end.
Right.
That doesn't feel earned, her stuff at the end, because she hasn't had to go through, or at least we haven't had to see her struggle to go through, being terrorized. She's just been the one doing the terrorizing, even though it's not her.
I don't agree.
I'm
with that.
saying on the face, not if you think back and say, well, she's possessed. It's not her. Who knows what she's
got
going
the
on.
whole divine thing. She
Right.
got
Yeah. No, I
she got
hear
that
you.
black sludge up her. You know what?
Yes.
I mean, and I imagine because when she goes, "Oh, it's horrible," I think she remembers everything she did as well.
Okay.
So it's. I think she does suffer enough.
I'm saying, but you don't see it. You just see her vessel doing the bad
Right.
stuff.
But I think she earns her survival.
I'm not
She
saying
survives,
she
fights
doesn't.
the
I'm
great
just
evil.
I'm wondering if it's not as much as it could have been, because she's not the. That's all. I mean,
I was okay with it because I like that twist at the end. You think, all right, David's our Ash character, and then he bites it at the end, and it goes and becomes Mia,
right.
and that's kind of like the twist. It's like if Ash was able to save Cheryl, his sister, in the original movies,
Mhm.
and then Cheryl kind of ends up defeating the evil.
Mhm.
So, although in Ash vs. Evil Dead, he ends up re-killing her again.
And that's right. Oh man, I forgot that. Do you like that? There's so many people losing hands and arms in this movie. Like I know there's like that happens in the original. He cuts his own arm off.
Right.
Do you like that? It's like 3. Like she even pulls her arm out from underneath the Jeep.
I thought that
Go ahead.
the turkey carver is really great, but her pulling her arm off is, I think, better. And if she's that hero character, she earns that Ash moment.
Yeah.
So then I don't think you should have the turkey carver.
You lose that. Yeah.
But I think both are so gross and so well done that I'm okay with it. And they're both different kind of eviscerations.
Yeah, I
in a way.
gotcha.
So I respect the amount of work that goes into those shots. Like her pulling off the arm is an awesome prosthetic shot. But the scene where, what's his girlfriend's name? Elizabeth?
Natalie.
Played by. So Natalie is chopping out that turkey carver is basically, I could swear that hand's like it bends
Mhm.
and then she chops it. So that's really, really well done.
Mhm.
And I can respect which is one of the things I like about horror movies is because often their stories aren't that great.
Correct.
Respect the amount of work that goes into the effects, the practical effects, which is another reason I really like this film using these practical effects. It's like I'm watching it and I'm not as grossed out as I am intrigued by like, how'd they fucking do that? That's so
Right.
cool.
Right. Well, what effect? The arm?
The turkey carver arm.
Right.
Jane Levy's arm is probably like some
fake.
kind of
It's
silicone
yeah.
that
Yeah.
was attached to that
Well,
stump.
they never show her in the same shot of her pulling the arm out, so
Yeah.
it's probably just somebody pulling. And she's not even there.
One fake arm pulling another. And
Yeah.
some kind of putty snapping.
Yeah. I'm
But
sure
the
that's
turkey carver arm is like, oof. The other thing of CG that I don't really like is when Olivia has chopped her cheek out. And that's pretty CGI-y.
Yeah, you gotta add some
the
stuff
cheek
there.
thing, yeah. It's creepy, but it's clearly not real.
The pages in the book, were those always in there? The different pictures they keep showing, because they're mimicking stuff in the book, like the face coming off, and
The book is completely remade for this movie.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But they did make a book that every page in that book has been illustrated by an illustrator, which I think is really cool.
No. I know that I meant like, was it specific for this movie? Like you said, it was.
Yeah.
They actually have the image from the poster in the book that they use at the end to kind of give Mia a baddie to fight, a bad person
The
to fight.
Abomination,
Yeah. What I didn't get all that. That's something they made for the movie, right? That's not
something from Evil Dead lore.
right, because
no,
that was
yeah.
just from the poster.
They were saying with enough sacrifices, the Abomination. would
Which I
come.
wanted to ask you, when they talk about how they come out and they needed 5 souls
Mhm.
to take. That's for this movie alone,
That's
right?
for this movie alone.
Do you like that they kind of changed that a little, or no?
Again, Evil Dead plays by its own rules.
Right.
You can't. Maybe that has always been in Evil Dead. They didn't care about that.
Right.
Because as far as the other Evil Dead movies go, they don't really read from the book, other than Nobi's daughter reads from the book to bring forth the evil in flesh and then suck it through the time portal.
Well, Ash reads from the book in the beginning. Ash vs. Evil Dead to impress the
when he's
girl.
drunk, yeah. When I love that. In the original movie and in the sequel, Evil Dead 2, they play the recorder. So it's just Nobi having the book.
right.
So
right.
they aren't really like going through and going, oh, look at this passage.
Yeah.
Once that recording happens and Shelley gets scared, they just kind of go, all right, well, forget about the book.
Mhm.
But it's too late. In this movie, Eric's just like, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah. Look at this picture. and
He's
that
scratching
picture.
things out. He's like, oh, let me just say it out loud. Why? Why didn't you say it out loud?
Although I don't think a book that old will give you a paper cut on the pages.
Yeah. well,
Although I
know.
get it's an evil book.
It just, he puts it down. He's like, the shot is obviously meant for, it's a nice shot when he's sitting there staring at the book, and then he's like, all right, time to chop off. Get this barbed wire on there. It's so difficult to get through this book. Maybe you shouldn't open it then, dude.
Yeah.
You deserve everything coming.
I really like the book on the inside. I like the pages. I like how they're written. I like the scrawled notes.
Yeah.
Like you can tell it's been through a bunch of people's hands. as
Right.
time has gone by.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of what the outside of the book looks like
Well, it
with
looks,
the skin coverings.
it's this, with the exception of the original where it's the face, it's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, but without the face, I just feel like, I get that it's human skin grafted on, but it looks like an old baseball. It's just like, that is not really
I
an
gotcha.
interesting looking outside.
All right.
The face really makes the Book of the Dead, I think.
So there were 70,000 gallons of blood that they used to make this movie. And
Yep.
they shot it 95% in order because it was easier to keep track of the blood spatter in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I get that.
That also helps, I think, with your actors.
No, I like
well.
shooting in order,
Right.
but I understand when you can't. But it was banned. It's still banned in Ukraine for extreme violence.
But that it was actually NC-17 in the US, and they had to cut out.
And they were
4
okay
minutes.
with it being NC-17, and the studio was like, no, we needed it to be R, because the first one was an NC-17.
Correct.
Yeah.
But nowadays, movie theaters won't even show.
Yeah, because they're wusses.
Yeah, like our
Well-
movie theater company doesn't.
Well, maybe they
it
should.
refuses.
Well, maybe they'll get people to actually show up.
If you say your movie's the most terrifying movie of all time, yeah, you're gonna get people. Although they got people to show up, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I know. That's the poster. It's what's the poster again? It's
The
like
most terrifying
it's
film
like-
you'll ever experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I have that poster.
Of course you do. I should also say I didn't bring this up before when I was talking about the writers. So Alvarez and I'm going to say his name wrong again. Sayagues.
Just say Roto, man.
Roto are not, their English is not their first language. So they had Diablo Cody come in and polish it and then quote unquote Americanize the script, but it's uncredited. Whoa, look at
My
that.
main problem with
sigh.
my main problem with the script is the dialogue.
Ooh, please
And
do
so
tell.
and this is another thing. I'm not a big fan of Diablo Cody as a writer.
Right, okay.
I hate
Juno?
Juno. I hate Juno.
Well, here's the thing about Juno. It's the first 30 minutes are tough because it's all like that quick, snappy, witty dialogue that's supposed to be like, oh, hip and stuff like that. And then it gets into the story a little bit. So it's a little bit more interesting, but I understand what you're saying. I agree.
So
You don't like Jennifer's Body?
I've actually never seen Jennifer's Body.
You might like that. That's it.
I
A
just
little bit
hated-
of the same with the dialogue, but you might like
I
that.
hated Juno so much that even Megan Fox in like a swimsuit wasn't enough to get me to go to the theater. Not liking Juno aside, she's known for her snappy dialogue.
Correct.
The dialogue in this movie is my main and mostly only complaint about this film. Is the dialogue is so not great. And I don't know if it's the woodenness of some of these actors or if it's the screenplay, but it's just like
For example, tell me specifically.
just everything. Like David is just so one note and he doesn't really have much emotion other than maybe when he's banging on the door after Grandpa dies.
Right.
Grandpa's their dog. And I guess Eric has some kind of he emotes, and Jane Levy acts the crap out of this movie. Mia is amazing in this movie, but I think that also doesn't help. Is that she is such a strong actor, and the rest of them aren't as strong as her, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or she's just written strong and no one else is written that strong. That it's like she outshines everyone else in the film, and it's a glaring issue with the film that I have.
Well, everyone in the movie is there to die. That's the only reason they're in the movie is to die and die horribly.
Right.
Except Mia, she is there to survive.
I think David is not just there just to die.
Right,
And Eric is there to die and die. And
Well, you're
die
okay with
and
Eric
die.
dying.
Oh my God. I remember when I watched this in the theater the first time, I laughed
Oh, yeah.
when he gets beaten up in the cellar
Mm-hmm.
and stabbed again.
Yeah.
Because it's just this guy, every scene he's in,
Yeah.
he gets beat up. He never gets he never gets to like stand at the side. Everything bad happens to him and everybody.
That's because he
else.
read the book probably, too. That's why. This is
But just like
punishment.
this guy, crowbar, nails, needles, stabbed, everything, shot. It's
I love
just
that. I
hilarious.
love the move is always to put your hand in front of your face. What do you think's going to happen? She's got a crowbar. She's going to beat the crap out of your hand, man.
Oh man, that hand splits apart.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. And then he just dies. He just,
Well, that's the thing. Does he die, or is he just passed out from all his wounds?
Well, he
and
gets
then
comes-
David puts him face down in the water. It's like, bro, what if your friend's just passed out? You're drowning him.
then he comes back.
That's a deadite.
Exactly. Man. They also, so David actually saves Mia by burying her alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to do the whole Evil Dead thing when he's gonna make when
He's making the chainsaw arm.
no, he doesn't make the chainsaw arm.
Well,
He
no, I
makes
know.
the defibrillator.
The defibrillator,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be.
It's
an
supposed to
homage
be
that.
like that. But then I'm thinking, how does he know how to do all this? And for
He's a
an
mechanic.
abandoned cabin, they sure have a lot of supplies and tools already at the hand, ready to go.
Well, it's not abandoned. Well, it's abandoned in the fact that they never used it again.
Right.
Imagine just after the mother died, they just never went back. But it's
I-
still had all the crap.
I got the impression that they hadn't used it since they were in high school or teenagers or something like that. Some of those photos are supposed to be them younger.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, buries her alive. She pops up. He resuscitates her, and the demon's gone, I guess, because there's 3 ways that you can exercise a demon, which is fire, purification by
Bodily dismemberment.
and then by burying him,
By
by
burying
burying him alive. But they actually really buried Mia alive in the
Mhm.
movie. I didn't know if you knew that, but to give David a real sense of fear. But like they had everything was all set, like she could breathe and stuff like that. But he really did bury her alive in the movie when they're in the production.
So that he had a sense of urgency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But
so-
I like that. I like all that stuff.
Now, do you know about the alternate ending?
See, I know about the alternate ending, and I know about another alternate ending, which now I can't find anything about.
Okay, which one? Which
So-
one can't you find about?
Well,
Which one
go-
can't you talk about?
talk about you talk about the other one, and I'll talk about the third ending that
Okay,
I can't find.
So at the end of the movie, they have her walking on the road,
Mhm.
right? She collapses. Trucker, this is me I'm talking about. Trucker picks her up and he's gonna take her to the hospital, but then also she wakes up suspiciously. Like her eyes pop open, like you're supposed to assume that she's still possessed, which is a little, I don't like that.
No, me neither.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Another alternate ending that I had read, they actually filmed but now I can't find anything about it, was that Mia gets out of the woods, gets to the side of a road. A big semi-truck comes by. She has her thumb out. The truck stops. It's an S-Mart truck.
Oh, nice.
And Ash is there, and he opens the door for her to bring her in, and he sees that she's got one arm. He sees her hold the shovel, and he's basically like, oh, no, not again. And that's how the movie ends.
Well, I know that Bruce Campbell had talked about how they really wanted to do a sequel where they both team up. And,
The original plan was do Army of Darkness 2,
Yes.
and then go on and do a team-up movie after that.
Yeah. I mean, what the hell, man?
I think that would have been cool.
But did you see that they announced in June that there's a new movie coming out called Evil Dead Rise?
I did see that.
Written and directed by Lee Cronin, personally handpicked by Sam Raimi. So there is a new one coming, apparently.
I don't like that.
Why?
See, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons I think this movie is forgotten. Audiences seem to like it, but it's not, I don't think it's given the kudos that it deserves, being it's the practical effects, being that they succeeded in really successfully doing a nice homage to the original while making their own film. And it's just immediately being forgotten about by the creators. Let's just move on. Let's make another reboot of The Evil Dead now.
Well, Fede Alvarez, they wanted to do him and his writing partner, which I'm not going to get the name right, were basically, I guess, they wanted to do another movie, but it was between that and Don't Breathe 2. And he got outvoted. They were like, we think Don't Breathe 2 will do better. So that's what they're moving on to, because he wanted to do Evil Dead 2. But that being said, to your point about it being forgotten, I think that because it's a remake, reboot, whatever, because it's so aligned with the Evil Dead franchise that it never can become its own movie. It can never be looked upon as something different. So even if it's good, yeah, as you say, you like it, I think that people just lump it with all the other Evil Dead stuff, and they don't either, not that they go back to it or they never even revisit it. Maybe they don't, you know what I mean? They're used to what they've seen already with Evil Dead, with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't like those already. They're not their cup of tea, or it's just like, it's fine. It's just a remake. Okay, moving on. But also remember, we're in a day and age where 5 movies come out on a weekend.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's not a movie that like Evil Dead where you has that cult following because you appreciate just how it was put together. And the 2 other movies subsequent, like they just get better and better.
But this movie is, again, it's all practical effects. It's still a different kind of horror movie, which Don't Breathe is similar in that it's real. It's a different kind of story, but it's still one dude, a Jason type serial killer or a Michael Myers type guy. This movie is so different and unique, and it's not like Conjuring or Poltergeist or any of these
Conjuring is
slasher
Poltergeist.
movies. Based, yeah. It's not like a ghost, and it's not a stalker killer. It's really this evil and this anything can happen nod to old films and these practical effects and this blood and this interesting horror film that people seem to enjoy. I mean, this movie made a lot of money. It made way more than its money back.
Yep.
And when it came out, it really resonated with people, and people really liked it. So I just think it's really weird that now it's, let's go with the new Evil Dead. Let's see if we can reboot it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with that. And I also know that Evil Dead Rise is supposed to feature a female protagonist this time.
So not Mia?
Obviously not Mia. It's going to be its own whole new thing.
Oh, it has nothing to do with this one?
That's why I don't like it. That's why I think it's forgotten. Now it's got
on.
nothing to do with this. So it's like you're going to reboot it again. No Ash because they're not convincing him to come back.
That's to that point too. I keep saying that to that point. They went on from this to do the Star series,
right?
So I mean, they did that for a couple years. Mm-hmm. So his focus was probably all on that.
Yeah, I get that.
So maybe it didn't really. That's another reason why they kind of forgot this. They got the itch Ash to do back. Evil Dead, and they wanted to continue the Ash saga, and.
But now Rise will be its own reboot. Rise isn't going to have anything to do with the old ones either, most likely.
Yeah.
So that kind of affects it, I think, in a way. But I also think that in the new one, if they want to do a female protagonist, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, it seems like everything wants to be the new female version of this or that, which it's fine. It's whatever. But the thing about Evil Dead is it's interesting is that you have that male protagonist. He's your final girl because every horror movie has a final girl. So I think that's just very samey to do that again. But I get that you also don't want to copy Ash.
But what other franchise has like a male protagonist that's the one that survives?
And horror films?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you think of off the top of your head?
Gremlins, maybe, but that's not really a horror film,
I don't think you can count Poltergeist because Craig T. Nelson's It's the Family, and it's about his daughter.
and no one dies.
Can you count Patrick Wilson in Conjuring?
No, because he's based on a real person. And so they didn't die from any of their hauntings.
You're right. I can't think of where it's the guy, where it's a male lead. Well, Dewey from Scream, but it's not really about him. It's about Neve Campbell.
Exactly. And she lives.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I don't.
Yeah. So in terms of that, I'm like, okay, I get you want to be against formula, your own formula, but by doing that, you're going with formula. You're becoming.
You're
formulaic.
chasing the money.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be something like, we're not interested in making another, movie with an Ash type character, but if you perhaps make it female or you do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows what goes into that? I mean, it's just something different, though. It's also something different from what the franchise has done. So they might
That's
be
what
just
I mean,
want to go in
yeah.
a different direction.
But by going in a different direction for your
Right.
franchise, you
Right.
go in the same direction as the rest of the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, that's why if you bring Mia back, she kind of I know you don't think she necessarily earns it, but she kind of, at least in that movie, David brings her back, and David was kind of the focus and does this twist, not from the whole film, but just at the very end.
Right.
So you get, okay, this guy's gonna win. This is the fight. This is your main character.
Mhm.
He's got to learn his lesson, which he does kind of learn his lesson as well. Which is another thing I like about this film, is that there are themes throughout it. And a horror movie like this, or horror movies nowadays, very often don't have themes anymore.
Yep.
They're very much, yeah, it's a slash movie, just like the slash movies of the past. It's like, yeah, but all of those movies back then always had a theme, like a through line. And even if maybe their stories were just, yeah, let's kill, their characters were given this, have this lesson to learn. And this film brings that back in Mia and in David. And Eric learns his lesson to not read from old fucking books anymore.
Idiot. So stupid. Eric's the real villain here because he just brought all this to them. Idiot.
He's also a dick.
I do like the fact that the actor purposely wanted to wear those glasses and he wanted to look like the 80s.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. I think that he of all the characters, he's the one that was like, listen, I love Evil Dead. I want to do as much as I can to look like that. That was great. I love that. But his character's a jerk.
He's also got I also like that he does the everything's okay, everything's fine, because that's an Ash line when he goes crazy in Evil Dead 2. I love that. I also love the Oldsmobile in the driveway, and the necklace he gives Mia, David gives Mia in the beginning, is very similar to the necklace Ash gives his girlfriend in Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this film, when Mia picks up the necklace that was on the ground, it's in the shape of a skull, which is exactly how it was in the original Evil Dead film.
So they changed it.
They made it like a brown necklace.
Right. Oh, you mean it was
when
dropped? Yeah.
When it's dropped,
I got
the
you.
necklace.
I thought you meant the necklace
beads are
itself
images.
changed.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Although I don't think this necklace has the glass in the center.
This one didn't. No, it would look like a tire.
Which I think the original one had glass in the center.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So, who would you recommend this movie to?
This is tough because I think our normal audience, I mean, if you're listening to Forgotten Horror, you clearly like horror films, or you want to.
Or you like the sound of our voice.
Or you like the sound of our voice.
All right, calm down.
In which case, I got audiobooks.
All right, calm down. I know this is the last episode in the season, so we push our own stuff, but come on now.
I'm pushing hard. I think that if you enjoy horror, or let me put it this way, okay. I liked the original Evil Dead growing up, because it was creepy and had Bruce Campbell, who I already liked from his other films that he had done, Briscoe County Jr. and Xena and
Was that
Hercules.
after? Wasn't that after?
This was after. Well, as a kid, I didn't start watching Evil Dead.
No, I got you.
Although I did probably watch it in like 6th or 7th grade. I just bought it.
Jeez, dude.
My parents were probably.
I don't want my kids to watch
exactly.
it. I mean, not because I don't want them to be exposed to that. I don't want to have to deal with, I can't sleep.
Well, by 6th or 7th grade, even back when I was
11
a kid,
years old.
it was probably in 6th grade.
Sixth grade, I was
12.
You're turning 12.
I was 12. I was a year older. I went to transition.
Okay.
Between,
What is the difference between 11 and 12?
I don't know.
You're okay to handle a hard NC-17 movie at that time?
Well, that's the thing, is by the time I watched it, it was already kind of hokey in a bit,
right,
kind of a way. So, and I liked it because it had Bruce Campbell, and I bought 1 and 2 because the video game came out for PlayStation, and I had my Gamer Monthly magazine or whatever it was, and they did a whole article about it, and I was like, this sounds cool. Let me buy the movies before the game comes out. So I went to Kmart, bought them, just watched them. My parents didn't know. I bought them myself.
You heard it here first.
But I grew up watching Aliens and stuff like that.
Sure.
And Ghostbusters and
Ghostbusters is PG, man.
yeah, but Ghostbusters has some creepy.
Ghostbusters is a PG-13 movie. That's in a different time period. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched it, and then growing up again, like I went back to it because when I figured I wanted to be a filmmaker, I was like, I really looked into how these things started, and I went back and I watched it as with a filmmaker mentality. And I think you can do that with this movie as well for like modern filmmakers. Be like, this. Fede did that with a very small budget, and he came up with things. And he even says in one of the, because I watched those special features, there was one shot like where one of the arms has to get blown off, and they kept trying to do it with wire and squibs, and they couldn't get it to go right. So he was just like, you know what? I don't want to do take 45. Give me a second. Let me stand behind the camera, and I'm going to throw the arm, have the actress stand with her stump out. I'm going to throw the arm, and someone else is going to throw some blood out with their own hand. We're going to do it Sam Raimi, Evil Dead 1 style, and see how it looks. And that ended up being the shot they made, because it's like sometimes these are the solutions you need.
Yeah.
And if you want to go practical, and they did so much in camera with so little, and just thinking about the innovation on how to do it. And he went on to do Don't Breathe, his own horror movie, and he did The Girl in the Spider's Web movie, which wasn't a great movie, but it's filmed well. I don't think he's a bad director, but it got him in the door. It got him noticed.
Well,
and I think that's something that
I just want
filmmakers can.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just want to say this.
Yeah.
He did have $17 million. I mean, let's not say he didn't have he didn't have money. He had $17 million to make it. I get what you're saying.
Right.
But he had $17 million. You don't get, I mean, he's not as access to 70,000 gallons of blood, so he can have it rain blood without having $17 million.
Right, that shot looks awesome.
Right.
We didn't talk about how the movie looks. I love how the movie looks.
Okay.
I love the lighting. Even in the daylight, there's still darkness.
Mhm.
The opening drone shot that's upside down and turns right side up is great.
That's like a shining shot right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the red blood rain, I think not only it's creepy, it's raining blood, but it creates this red mist and this blue hue.
Is that a
very
set?
80s.
Is that an indoor set?
No, that is actually the woods. They found creepy.
So how did they do this? So I'm curious how they did the effect when the abomination melts into the soil.
They probably dug a ditch.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then went from there.
All right.
But yeah, I know that it's 17 million, and obviously Sam Raimi famously
I
got money
agree
from
with
like his dentist and just
yeah.
did Into the Woods. I think was he did a short called Into the Woods that was like basically Bruce Campbell running away from the Evil Dead camera,
right?
Which I love, the Evil Dead push cam.
I totally get what you're saying.
Right.
And I agree with you. I'm just saying Alvarez had a lot more money.
Right.
I mean, even like the movie Halloween that Carpenter did, he had less money than what,
right?
You know, and that's considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But I hear you. I think you can do horror on the cheap and you can do it well.
Yeah.
If you're talented, but I mean, it's not easy to do, but I'm saying if you've got the talent, that is a genre that you can do very well with little money.
Right.
You do have to have the talent, but I agree with you.
So I think that's one you could look for, people that like horror films that are looking for something a little different.
Yeah.
But at the same way, it's Conjuring adjacent. Basically, when I look at my horror films, I'm sick of the Saws, the Hostels, these movies that are just
torture porn.
And I'm also kind of sick of, like, the first Conjuring is actually, despite the fact that I think the Warrens are maybe fake.
Ooh, you're
Ooh.
I'm recording in the town that the Warrens Museum is located, Butler.
Which is actually closed, by the way.
Well, too bad. It's still here. It's the doll is still there, Butler.
I know. Like, the Conjuring movie is like, it's well done and I like it, but it's like you either get ghosts or you get slashers. So if you're looking for like something different, that's there for you as well.
Well, horror movies are always, I read this. Horror movies are a reflection of what society is feeling.
Correct.
So that's why you get a certain type of horror movie, a certain type of genre over and over again, like ghost stories and stuff like that, and slasher films and stuff like that. I like slasher films. Of all the horror genres, I think slasher films to me are the more interesting ones. I don't know. It's a fun time. You know what I mean? It's an escapism type time. It's not, I necessarily don't need to be creeped out. I do like some 70s kind of horror where it's a little creepy. I like Get Out's like that. It's got that 70s feel. Us is a little like that as well. Burnt Offerings, last forgotten horror we did was like that.
Well, that was a ghost story.
But I'm saying I like that 70s creep.
Right.
But the slasher stuff, I just watched a movie, You May Be the Killer, or You Might Be the Killer, which is like a take on like summer camp slasher films where the main character is the killer. He doesn't realize it. It's like, it's funny. It's got some good moments, and it's shot with like the 80s grain and stuff like that. Kind of probably what American Horror Story did with their summer camp style season.
That season.
Yeah.
I think slasher movies really depend on your slasher, though. They live and die by.
Of course, some slasher movies suck because the slasher is terrible. I get that.
Is this the dude in a bonnet? What?
Yeah, but slasher films are more, to me, they're sometimes more of a comment on the horror industry in terms of how they're put together and how they're made, and I think there's more behind the scenes love for the horror genre with slasher films, where in terms of like movies that are like maybe even a little like this one. The others, stuff that's more creepy, is more about the storytelling, or at least they're trying to attempt to tell a somewhat of a story.
The Others is very good.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
I get you. Yeah,
but yeah, I hear you. It's a reflection of the time.
The Others might be a good one for forgotten.
Maybe.
Interesting. No, I agree. I do like slashers. Obviously, I really like Freddy. I like Jason.
Well, there's more bad movies than good ones for those IPs, but
slashers are just such like.
Like I Know What You Did Last Summer. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I enjoy. I still Know What You Did Last Summer. I do not. But like so they can be done right and they can be done wrong.
Well, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's a one-off slasher guy.
Of
course, like bringing him back is like
agreed.
But like you can bring back Michael Myers and you can bring back Jason, and you're not like, okay, yeah, he can keep coming back.
Yeah.
Scream. Well, Scream's always somebody different behind the hood. Right?
It is, but it's always a kind of a comment on horror movies. So
that's a little different.
Right. And Scream 5's coming out anyway. So
which is why you can always bring back the mask.
Sure.
Or not the mask, because the mask is
the Ghostface. The Ghostface. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that's it. That wraps up Forgotten Horror. Sorry, Mike. See you next year. I was waiting for the cry. All right. So like I said, as this is the end of our season, we always like to kind of give you an update on terms of what we're doing beyond the podcast or what we're doing. I don't know. We just like to kind of give shout outs. So Mike, go ahead, because I have no idea what I'm going to talk about.
All right. If you like the sound of my voice, you've got options.
Oh, boy.
So I've got two other podcasts I do. I've got Crack One Open that I do with my fiance Elise, where we talk about brews, news, and pop culture reviews. Every episode we crack open a new craft beer, and we'll talk about the style of beer, the brewery it came from, the history of the brewery, how the beer was made, the hops in it, the wheat, the barley. We go way into beer. Elise is the beer professor, and I'm just there to kind of crack jokes. So if you like to learning about beer and you're really interested in beer, that's one for you.
I'm just there to be the asshole.
Pretty much. I'm there learning. She does a lot of research. It's a really good time.
So it's her show. Beer. Get off her show.
Then while we'll take some tasting notes, and then while we're drinking that, we'll give you some of the latest pop culture like reviews. What's on Netflix? What's on Hulu? Or what studios are making? What new movie announcements or TV show announcements were made?
Or what's being pushed or canceled or sent to 2022?
We try to ignore that and keep it positive, but lately it's been really hard to not mention some of that. Then I've got Two Player Bros I do with my buddy Dave. It's about two guys who play way too many video games. Join me and Dave every week as we talk about previews, news, reviews on the latest video games on all systems: Xbox, PlayStation VR, PC. We have them all. We play them all. Then every other week we'll do a post game presented by Two Player Bros, where we'll either dive into a new classic game and talk about how it was made, our thoughts on the game and the gameplay and story, or the brand new game, and we'll talk about the same kind of things. That's Cracking One Open every Friday and Two Player Bros every Thursday if you're interested. Both part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. If you're interested in more that I do, I also have audiobooks available on audiobook. Look for me, Michael Butler. Right now, it's the perfect time. I've done a bunch, mainly horror books. So if you're interested in listening to me read you some horror, I've got a bunch on Audible. Just search my name and you'll find them.
Oh my God, shut up already. Jesus.
Then I've got other
crying out loud. They already shut it off. So the only thing I have, everyone, is yet another MCU podcast. I do that with our partner, Pat Whalen. And he's a big time comic book guy, and I am not. So we talk about the Marvel movies. We go through every episode, every phase one movie in order. We have some bonus episodes, and it's just primarily talking about the movie. We talk about the difference between the comic book and the movie itself, which is basically me just asking Pat, why is this like that? And he yells at me, or no, he doesn't yell at me, but he just kind of tells me what's what.
So it's mostly Pat's show.
Of course.
Get off Pat's show.
I will. I have absolutely no problem getting off Pat's show. And then we talk about the movie within the universe itself. So yeah, it's yet another MCU podcast that's also part of the Forgotten Entertainment Network. And that is it. I try to keep it light, primarily because I'm just writing a lot. So yeah. And as always, if you want to support us, check out our sponsor page. Go through the sponsor links if you're looking to, I don't know, sign up for CBS All Access. Maybe you want to check out Canva, which we used for our promotion. If you're looking to, want to support the show in some way and you're already going to sign up for these, go through our sponsor links and check out them discounts.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we will see you next week when we start our season 7 with a movie from 1974 called The Front Page, directed by Billy Wilder, starring Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon, and Susan Sarandon. Butler has never seen this movie. I have seen this movie. It's based on a play. I actually enjoy this movie. So I'm hoping Mike does as well. And that's going to start off our season 7. So yeah, thanks for listening. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Forgotten Horror.
Oh, you're right. Nice job. Nice job. I swallow your soul. I swallow your soul.
Someone's been in my fruit cellar. God. I love Henrietta. Until next year, keep it
spooky.